Ladies and gentlemen, I want to get started today. This is the first of the official USY AlumNet meeting for the Mitzvah Heroes Tzedakah group that I started. I got it from the initiative from, I'll give credit where credit is due, of course, to Robin Zalben, who said to me, "Why don't you do this?" I said, "Okay, I'll do it." And so United Synagogue and USY in particular have been fortunate, generous enough to actually give us a little subsidy to make this happen. We will hopefully have some in-person meetups where we can actually get some snacks, and that's the kind of subsidy it is. It'll be great. And it'll be fun. We're going to do this probably once a month for the next 6 months, see how it goes. I'll have all the recordings and I'll post them online, so anybody who wants to see it later or share it, or if you know of anybody who'll be interested in sharing it later, it'll be there. Today, let's get started. We have with us Jenna Elbaz. Hi, Jenna.
Hi, everyone.
Jenna, where do you live?
I live in En Sarid. It's a small town in Israel, not too far from Tel Aviv.
Great. And can you give us a little background? Where did you grow up?
So I was actually born in New York, and my mom's American. My father is Moroccan. That's why my name is half-half. So I was actually born in New York. We moved to Israel, to Ra'anana, like most Americans do. And around the age of 8 or 9, we moved to En Sarid, which is where I live now, which again is a small town, or like a mushav, if you know what that is.
Yes, that's great. And you graduated from high school, and what did you do after high school?
So I did the Shnat Shirut. It's a gap year program that a lot of Israelis do here. So I postponed the army service for a year, and I lived in Ramla and volunteered with youth at risk for a year. Right after that, I joined the army as a social worker. I was in a fighting unit, and I worked with all the combat soldiers there. And I really wanted to become an officer, and I was supposed to go on this officer course, and it didn't work out for me. So I decided to go to a summer camp in America instead, which I guess we'll talk about more soon. But that's basically
in just a minute. Yes.
Yeah, but that's basically what I did, like right after school.
Okay. How was your army service otherwise?
Amazing. It was great. I really wanted to be a soldier, and I was excited for the whole time I was a soldier, and it was a very good army service for me.
Great. So how did you decide to go to summer camp? How did that option even come up? Where did that come from?
So again, I was supposed to become an officer. It's something I really wanted to do. It was my goal since I was like, I don't know, probably like 15. And a few days before the course started, my officer told me that I scored very low on some test in 11th grade. And because of that, I can't become an officer. I was very mad at her, and I just wanted a day off from the army. And I heard of this like new program that soldiers can become counselors at a summer camp in America. I didn't want to go to a summer camp. I was just very mad at everybody, and I just wanted like a day off from the army. So I went to I started the screening process and heard more and more about these summer camps, and decided that that's what I want to do. So for the last 2 months of my army service, I was actually a counselor at a summer camp in America, which is way more fun than being a soldier.
Yes. Which camp did you go to?
I went to Camp Ramapo. It's a camp for kids and youth with and without special needs. It's in upstate New York. It's in Rhinebeck, and not too far from Woodstock. So I was there, and I've been going back every summer for the past 10 summers.
Wow. And was this your first trip to the United States?
No, I actually went with my mom to visit family when I was 15. So I've been to the States before, and so it was my second trip.
Okay. And being at a summer camp, though, in America is very different than summer camp in Israel.
Yeah, very different. I remember my mom telling me, like, growing up, she said that her best friends are from her summer camp. She went to a summer camp in Philly, and she kept telling me about it, but I was very shy as a kid, and I didn't like to be away from my family and away from home, so I never went to a summer camp, not even here in Israel. Like, the longest summer camp I went to was like an overnight. It was like 2 days, 1 night. But I decided I should give it a try and see how it goes. I've been hearing so much about summer camps. I really wanted to see what it's like.
And what did you find most amazing about the summer camp that you actually went to at Ramapo?
That people can just be themselves. And I feel like, again, as I said before, school wasn't a very good experience for me. I didn't feel very successful there. And I just felt like it was like 180 campers who come from different families and different backgrounds, and every person left camp with a new friend. And I think that's what is like very special about summer camps. You can just be yourself. And if you're not very good at school or not very good at other activities you do, it's a chance for you to get a fresh start and just be whoever you want to be. And I think that's what touched me the most.
Great. And you came back to Israel, and then what happened?
So I came back to Israel, and I got out of the army. And when I came back to Israel, I started thinking of opening our own summer camp for youth at risk and youth with special needs. I was 21. I didn't really know what it means and how to bring the American summer camp to Israel, because Israeli parents don't really like when their kids leave their home for so long. So the following year, I went back to Ramapo, but this time I went back with 6 Israeli kids, half at risk and half with special needs, who went to Ramapo as campers.
So you got scholarship money, you figured out how to do it, and you brought 6 Israelis to Ramapo.
Exactly.
And when did you meet Shaked?
I met Shaked during my second summer at Ramapo. It was her second summer as well, but we didn't do our first summer together. And I told Shaked that this is what I want to do. Like, I really think we should bring the Ramapo philosophy to Israel. And because she loves camp as much as I do, and she said yes immediately. And we started figuring it out and seeing how we can really do this here in Israel. Because it's an amazing combination, the combination of youth at risk and youth with special needs. So.
All right, we'll talk about that in just a minute. So for the next few years, you went back and forth, summers in the States, bringing some Israeli kids.
Yep, exactly.
With you each time.
Yeah, so every summer, Shaked and I went back together with 6 Israeli campers. And again, half of them are at risk and half with special needs from many different places here in Israel. They would go for 2 weeks. The camp itself is 2 months long, but they would go for one session, which is a 2-week session.
Okay. And you and Shaked fed off each other's energies. You loved it more and more each time.
Exactly. I think what is very special about our relationship is that we're never stressed out together. We always know that only one of us can be upset over something. So then the other person knows that it's her turn now to bring the energy back up.
That's great having a co-founder like that. Right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay, so then after a few summers of doing this, you were interviewed on the radio, I believe.
I was. That's true. I think
Tell me about it.
I met some guy in our Knesset. He was like a Chaver Knesset. He was in our government, and I don't even remember how I heard about him, but I knew he wanted to help kids with special needs. So somehow I contacted him, and we met, and nothing came out of it. But then, like, I would say like 8 months afterwards, he called me and he said, listen, I'm having a radio show tonight, and I would really like to interview you. It's going to be around midnight. If it's okay with you, I would love to do it. And I said, yeah, sure. Like, why not? I didn't even ask him what station it will be on, because I didn't really think anything of it. But
And by then, and by then, you and Shaked were already trying to form your nonprofit and make this work.
exactly, yeah, we wanted to establish something bigger than just taking once a year six kids.
Okay.
So yeah, so I was on the radio, and then thank God you heard me.
Ah, there you go. So
Yeah.
yes, people, I was by chance listening. I was in my car that evening, and I was listening to the radio, and I heard Jenna being interviewed, and I was so impressed with the idea of what she was doing and wanted to get started with that I immediately uh, spoke with some of the foundations that I work with, some of the people at the time, like Danny Siegel and Ron Gallatin and a few others. And we all said, let's wait a few weeks because after you're on the radio, for sure, you probably got millions of phone calls and millions of dollars, shekels came rolling in, right?
You would think.
You would think, except that what happened?
Two people called, and none of them really offered anything. They just called to say, heard on the radio, sounded cool, best of luck. And then you called, and everything changed.
My pleasure. I do represent the people behind me, right? So it's the funders and donors and philanthropists and those people who are interested in what you do. I was so happy that I could find you. And so we decided to help you first, I believe, fund extra kids from Israel going to Ramapo for the following summer.
Right. Yeah. So
And then, yeah.
and then start our summer camp here in Israel, which was really the big thing. That's what we wanted to do. I mean, it's very nice to take them to America, and it's good for them because they don't really get a chance to get out of the country, and it's nice for them to meet other cultures and other people. But I really wanted to do the summer camp here in Israel, and because I knew that that's the way to get to more and more kids, and also to lower functioning kids. So that was the main goal.
So you put it together and you found a location, and that was great, and it was accommodating. And tell us about your first summer camp here a few years ago. It wasn't that long ago, right?
Right. Yeah, it was actually 5 years ago. And we just finished our fifth summer camp about 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it was 5 years ago. We had 36 participants, which was way more than six. So it was very exciting for us. And we had kids at risk and kids with special needs from all over Israel, and who came for a 6-day summer camp. Because again, like I said before, this is like the longest Israeli parents will let their kids go to a summer camp here in Israel. It's very not common to go to a summer camp longer than that. And so we did it at JRV, Jordan River Village. Some of you may have heard of that extremely special place. And it just worked like magic. It was nothing like I imagined it would be. I think it was just like 5,000 times better than what I thought it would be.
Tell us about a little bit about the magic. How does it work with kids at risk and special needs kids?
So I think the reason it worked so well, it's because they just get from each other exactly what they need. They come to an environment that doesn't judge them at all, and it doesn't matter if you're pretty or skinny or tall, or it doesn't matter who you are. You can just be you. And I think that's why it works so well, because everybody wants love and everybody wants to feel like they're a part of something. And most of our campers don't feel that anywhere else, not even in their families. And then they come here and they can just, it's okay to be afraid, and it's okay to be angry, and it's okay to be good at certain things, and it's okay not to be good at other things, and it's just okay to be you. And I think that's why it works so well. It's not like we have the youth at risk who come as counselors for the youth with special needs, or the other way around. They all come as campers, and they just all like kind of feed off each other of like their positive energy. And every time, like every day you get a chance to either be the one who gets to help others now or the one who needs help, but you always get a chance to be either that or that. You're not only the one who needs help all the time. And I think that's why it works so well.
And this past summer, how many kids and how many sessions did you run?
This summer?
Yeah.
This summer we already had 100 kids, a little over 100, and we had 2 sessions, and each session had a little over 50 kids, and we have 25 counselors. So like the ratio is 1 counselor per 2 campers, and which is really important and really high. So
Right.
yeah, we went up from 6 to over 100, which is great.
Look at that. Amazing. And where do you get 25 counselors who want to hang out with these people, with these kids, with themselves, with you, with whatever's going on there?
So just like kids want to be loved and want to be a part of something, adults want the same thing. And they just come as volunteers. We don't even pay them. We just post like on Facebook, we just write a post and we say like we talk about the summer camp, but that we're looking for counselors who can come as volunteers. And my phone doesn't stop ringing for a whole month. Like I just keep getting more and more people who call me and want to hear more about it and want to come and want to be a part of it. And so I don't know what you guys hear about Israel, but Israelis are amazing. And they are, yeah, they love to volunteer. They love to try new things. And yeah.
And you have counselors who come back every year now?
Oh yeah. We have counselors who come back. We have 1 counselor. This was her 5th summer, 5 out of 5. A few counselors who have been coming back for the past 3 summers, and 2 campers who came back as counselors. They're in the Army now. They took the week off and came back as counselors, which was...
That is great.
Yeah, it was amazing.
All right, pick a story if you want from any of the 5 summers of how that best demonstrates what goes on at camp.
Wow, only one, huh?
Only one, yeah.
Only
Give me one.
Okay, I got one. So we had this camper. His name is Elior, and he lives in Bet Shean, which is a small town up north. He's youth at risk by definition, and moved like 5 different schools, didn't really make it in any of them. And he came to our summer camp, and the first 2 days he said, I don't want to be here. It's not at all what you told me it's going to be. He didn't listen to any of us. He was very disrespectful, and he just really wanted to go home. He took out the cigarettes and smoked, although we said he can't smoke during camp. Like, he just really didn't want to be there. And at some point, Shaked and I said, okay, maybe it's time to let him go. It's we don't like to send kids home, but he's not listening to anyone, and maybe it's time to send him home. And then this other kid, his name is Natan, and he is with autism, kind of low functioning. He went to Lior and he said, tomorrow we have horseback riding. Can you go on the horse with me? And Elior just came to us and said, listen, I really want to stay. And I said, what do you mean? Why do you want to stay? You really wanted to go home. You haven't been listening to anyone for the past 2 days. And he said, please give me a second chance. I have to stay. I have to go horseback riding with this kid. And he stayed. And the following year, he wanted to come back as a counselor, but the Army wouldn't let him out. But he's still in touch with us till today, and he still wants to be part of it. And he keeps asking about the other campers. And so, yeah, I think that's great. That sums it up. What the counselors couldn't do for 2 days, one kid did with 1 sentence. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't give you the name. What's the name of your organization that you created?
My Piece of the Puzzle.
Why is it called My Piece of the Puzzle?
First of all, a puzzle piece is the sign for autism. And not all of our participants have autism, but a lot of them do. And so we started reading more about like puzzles and why they chose it to be the sign for autism. And then we just realized that everybody in society, we're all just part of one big puzzle, and everybody can fit. And it doesn't matter if our piece is small or large, or it doesn't matter. We all have a piece in this puzzle that is called the world. So
That's
that's
great. And so my piece of the puzzle, you decided that summer camp was not enough of a challenge for young Jenna and Shaked. So you decided that you wanted to do a year-long program. Explain a
yeah.
little bit about that.
So we see what happens during the summer camp and how much the kids connect and what it does to them, but then it just ends and we don't see them for a whole year until the next summer camp. So we decided to start a school year program. And like I said before, Shaked and I didn't really have a very successful school time. So we even wanted more, like we want to be part of the system so we can understand it better and help the kids while they're in the system and not like only after school programs. So together with Misrad Chinuch,
The Ministry of
Ministry of
Education.
Education. So we started a school year program. We take a school for youth at risk and a school for youth with special needs. And they meet every other week for joint activities and they volunteer together, which is very exciting. And they just get to spend
It's in
time.
the same city. They're near each other
Yeah,
geographically.
exactly. They're near each other in the same cities because we also want them to meet after school and become friends. And it's just like, we want them to get to know other people their age in the city. So we take different schools from different cities all over Israel. Unfortunately, it stopped during COVID, but I'm sure we'll start it
Okay,
again.
right. At your peak 2 years ago, let's say, and what your plan is for the future, how many kids are involved in that year-long program?
So we had 8 groups, 14 kids in each group, and Elat, like way down south, all the way up to Kiryat Bialik, which is near Haifa. And this year we're planning on starting all those groups again and opening more. Each group has 14 participants, half at risk and half with special needs.
Terrific. And since that wasn't enough for you and Shaked, right? Tell us, what else did you decide to do recently?
So we're opening a gap year program again for youth at risk and youth with special needs. It's starting September 1st in Jerusalem, and I'm looking for an apartment up there. So if you guys hear of anything, let me know. And it's going to be for 30 participants who want to either join the army or national service right after the program. So here in Israel, the army is mandatory, but the army doesn't really take youth at risk or youth with special needs because they have enough soldiers. But we believe that the army can benefit a lot from taking these guys in, and they can benefit a lot out of it as well. So we're going to prepare them for 6 months and then help them get into either the army or national service.
So that's your gap year program for them,
Yeah.
post-high school, pre-army.
Yeah.
And then you also recently did something else with the army itself. Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
So not too long ago, the army decided to start taking in soldiers with autism. But since they don't really know how to work with them, they asked a few organizations if we are willing to leyaetz. How would you say leyaetz?
To counsel or you to advise.
To their officers and kind of like teach them how to work with people with autism. And they chose my piece of the puzzle. So we had to write 2 courses, one for officers on how to work with soldiers with autism, and the other one is for soldiers on how to, like soldiers with autism, how to become soldiers and how to become part of the IDF. So that's something very big we're working on now. The officer course is actually almost ending, and the soldiers with autism are going in about 2 weeks. So that's also very exciting.
I know the officer course has been for the last 6 weeks, whatever, 8
Yep.
weeks, something.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
So tell me some of the reaction of the Army officers and who volunteered to work with these kids and who wants to, and what did they learn from you and how does it, play out?
So all the officers who decided to work with soldiers with autism have some kind of experience with people with autism. So it can either be a sibling or a cousin who has autism, or people who volunteered with kids with autism and their youth movements or stuff like that. But I just feel like it really touched everybody because, again, like I said, the army is mandatory in Israel. It's something you have to do. Sometimes you want to do it, sometimes you don't, but it's just like the way it is here. And you see the army as like this big organization, and that sometimes can be a little heartless. And then like all of a sudden you see all these people who just want to be a part of something big and just want soldiers with autism to be part of the army and to learn more about them. And I think that's very touching, and it shows a beautiful side of the army.
And you
And I'm
felt
not sure
your
it happens in other countries. Like I haven't heard of other countries who take in people with special needs.
interesting. And you felt your instruction with them and your time spent was worthwhile?
It was amazing. It was like all the way up north. It took me like 3 hours to get there, but it was worth every minute because it's nice to see how people just want to learn new things and new approaches. And at the end of the day, it's not like science. What I know about autism and what other people know about autism, we each have different approaches. It's education. We can each think differently, but it's nice to meet like these the officers are only like 18 or 19-year-old. They're still youth themselves. Like they're still kids, but seeing how they like really want to learn more and know more and make the army service as easy and good as possible for these kids, it's really special.
Terrific. So you just mentioned your background jokingly. So you clearly have a PhD in special education?
I actually
In
don't.
addition, oh, you don't?
No.
Okay. So you're just this amazing person who at 30, 31 years old decided to just become it's your specialty. And this is what you do.
I'm just very lucky because at a young age, I realized what I like to do. So I'm actually very lucky. I think most people wake up in the morning and don't really like their jobs. And I don't see it as a job. I see it as a hobby. So I just feel very lucky in that way.
Terrific. Okay, so you can unmute yourself if anybody would like to ask Jenna any questions. Please feel free. Again, the name of the organization is My Piece of the Puzzle. This is not a fundraising event, okay? But I will just tell you that it wouldn't hurt. Okay, right? Of course. Anyway, does anybody have any questions? Like, just unmute yourself and feel free to speak. Otherwise,
hey, this is Daniel.
Hi.
Daniel Epstein.
Can you hear me?
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah, so great to hear this story. Thank God you didn't become an officer.
Thank you.
So is there any science? I'm not saying in your organization, but this seems like such a profound idea of the youth at risk and the kids with developmental disabilities. Is there any science behind this? Are people studying this? Because this is just incredible.
That's a great question. In Israel, there's no science about it yet. I approached a few colleges and universities, and I really wanted someone to I feel like we need a lot of research about this. A lot of people like say, listen, you think it works well, but maybe it doesn't work well. Like you never checked it out professionally. And I mean, I can see it works well. I can see it every day. But I do agree that it's time to have research. But no, in Israel, I haven't found anything yet. And I've been looking also in the US. So I asked Ramapo and a few other camps who have like a similar combination. No one really has any like academic information about it. And not anything I could find.
Isn't there David Yellen Teachers Institute in Israel?
Yeah, in Jerusalem.
Yeah, I think Yeah, I think what you're doing is amazing, and there's so much power in not being tied down to the academic, and because this is true in my field, I've been in marketing and innovation, where I
Mhm.
didn't do anything related to the science, but in the last 10 years, I've been connected to the science. I would just say this is a beautiful dissertation for somebody to write or to research, and it would benefit the organization, I think, in the long term to get that going.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't have any contacts to offer you in that space, but I think what you're doing is breakthrough and should be studied.
Thank you. I agree. It is very important. And again, I did contact a few colleges or universities, and they asked for like 300 shekels just to sit with me for 1 hour. But so I decided not to do that. But yeah, I think it is very important. And I think that as bigger as we get, it becomes more and more important, and more donors or like the Ministry of Education, they all want to see it. They all want to make sure that there is academic research about this subject. So it's definitely something I'm working on. Not enough though. So thank you for reminding me how important it is.
Great.
Yeah, well, I guess my last comment is every doctoral student has to come up with a question.
Yeah, that's true.
Is
too.
what and people are dying to figure out questions that have never been researched before.
Right.
So yeah, okay, well, good luck.
Here
That's
it is.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Anybody else have any comments or questions for Jenna? Don't be shy. Okay. So Jenna, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us, explaining your
I have
background
something.
and your story. Oh, yes, Dana, please. Dana, who's currently in Atlanta. Yes.
Yeah, well, okay. Jenna, I think that what you're doing is tremendous. I've worked at camps my entire life. Well, at least up
Oh,
until.
cool.
And one of the things that we've always done is use the kids that are at high risk, always in some level of working with the younger kids, because that's the only way usually to pull them in and to
Right.
get to knock their walls down. So it's a natural function that just seems to happen with kids when they're going through that stage. I know that I don't know of anything that anyone studied or anything else. It's a gut reaction, and you have to understand the social work part, the piece of how the kids are functioning. But I agree that there needs to be some kind, and some of us have been yelling about it for years, to try to get somebody to put something together, and people don't seem to think that it's real, which is part of the problem. I agree with Daniel that there needs to be some kind of educational piece. You don't have to work with a committee, do you?
She has
Is
a
there-
board.
Yeah.
There is a board? Okay.
Yeah, there is.
Is it a nice small board?
Yeah. My board is on board with everything I do, which is very
Just
helpful
let
and
me
very
go.
important. Yeah.
Okay, like 2 people maybe? Keep your
Well,
board small. for
yeah,
now.
we're up to 7 now because that's how it works here in Israel. Every
Yeah.
nonprofit organization needs to have a board of minimum of 7 people. But
Okay.
yeah, we're keeping it small and simple.
Yeah.
Right. In the
Yeah,
in the
I
States, the law is 3 people on a board, but in Israel,
Yeah.
it's 7.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I would just stay really, really small with that board before anything gets out of hand. Otherwise, it will curtail what you do. I also had heard of some things that are going on in Jerusalem with Yerushalayim with some of the other people just who have special needs, and that it's becoming more available than it used to be, because it used to not be like this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Where
Yeah.
anybody could even allow
Even in
programming.
the last 10 years, the school system has become more accommodating. There are more schools with special needs classes as
Mhm.
part of the regular school, not just special needs schools separated. You'd call it mainstreaming to some extent.
Yeah.
The health funds have all come on board with lots of programming offered to kids with special needs and their families, from all different kinds of therapies that they never would have offered before, from art and drama, horseback riding, etc., etc.
It would,
So
it would amaze me. It would amaze me if some of the other bigger camps, not even bigger camps, but the other camps around the states would not plug into this program. They all have special, well, not all, many have special needs programs that are already in development that could help and would take kids and would tie them into their programs, which would be another way. I don't know if you want them to come to the States, but I'm sure they're looking to send their kids to Israel to help with even staffing the programs. I don't know if that's
an idea.
anything that, but they already do it. They've already got the systems down. They've got the pathways set up, and they already understand the need. So
That's
that
amazing.
might be,
That's definitely a great idea. And I love, like I said before, I really like the idea of meeting new people and new cultures. And I feel like that's what will bring peace eventually to the world. So I definitely like to have counselors or campers from all over, like the world, not only
Right.
from Israel. So I definitely like that idea.
and to be honest, you get a lot of counselors with training,
Yeah, that's true too.
where you wouldn't have to worry about training them.
Right. Yeah.
Because a lot of people, a lot of the staff from here are going to school for this.
Right.
So that might help come up with some of the research, and then somebody going through a PhD program and doing something like, you know, this is their thesis kind of a thing.
Right.
And that may be one of the ways that, you know, us in the US could potentially add to your program, which is incredible, by the way.
Thank you.
Absolutely amazing.
Thank you so
Jenna,
much.
I neglected to ask you, and I apologize. What is your organization's annual budget? About approximately.
Very low. So it's 200,000 shekels.
It's about, wait, I want to translate that for people. It's about $60,000.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. Her annual budget is $60,000, people. Yes, go ahead, Jenna.
Yeah, everybody, like all of our counselors, they are all volunteers, and they all just do it from the bottom of their hearts, and I think it's amazing. And I have to say that so many people told me along the way, you won't last very long if you think people will keep volunteering, but we are lasting for the past 10 years. So
When you touch people's hearts.
thank
They
you. Yeah,
come
I
back.
mean, yeah, and they touch our hearts. So
And you're successful. So
yeah, it definitely
in your
works.
boo, right?
We
Yeah.
still have a lot to learn and to grow, but yeah, something here definitely works because it's been going on for 10 years now. So
Terrific.
yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions or comments?
Yeah, what help do you need besides money? Or you can tell us money too, but you know, like what would look like help?
So yeah, I mean, money, I guess, is like the obvious answer. Every nonprofit organization needs that, but I feel like it's more than that. I feel like it's, if you go to your synagogue or neighborhood or I don't know what, and you tell 2-3 more people about my piece of the puzzle, and it's just like more and more, like each of you now is an ambassador of my piece of the puzzle. You guys know what I do, and you can spread it, like spread the word. And then I'm sure more and more people will hear about it and say, oh, I do have a connection in Tel Aviv University. I do know someone who can help out. Or I have I don't know, a friend who has a kid with special needs and they're looking for a program for that kid. So maybe we can send them to Israel to the program, or just like spread the word. And feel free to contact me. I can give you my email, my phone number, everything, Facebook, and whatever you guys hear of or people you may know, that I feel like is the biggest help for us right now.